Now we'll get cracking there. Triggs looks like he's got some squats to do. Right, here we go. Length does matter. Christmas special. Pretty excited about this one. I think it's going to be a barrel of laughs from a little bit of inside information I've been given. Jonny, Foxy's joining us. How are you, lads?
Good, thank you.
Good, mate. Good.
Christmas jumper, Jonny?
What's up, buddy?
Have you got your Christmas Christmas snow?
Oh.
Mate, that's horrendous. Look at that. Mate, that is... What do you think of that, Fox?
I know the little scrot.
Not a fan?
He used to be. No. He used to be one of my mates is Graham Lambert in the Inspiral Carpets. And when they were doing well in Manchester, Noel and Liam Gallagher were two of their roadies. And they were only kids. They were kids, 16, 17. They were little scroats, they were. But yeah, unbelievably talented.
They've done well for themselves.
Thanks for the review of me jumper, Foxy.
Delighted to be joined for the Christmas show by two of county cricket's most popular sort of figures, in my opinion. I'm sure if you ask people around the circuit, they will say the same. Peter Trego and Steve Kirby. Thanks for coming, lads.
Good evening. Good to be here, Rushy. Good to be here with me, mate, as well. Good to see you, Foxy, as well, mate.
And you. Always
a
pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be on the opposite side with Triggs. Sure, there's going to be some little bit of banter flying around here tonight. Go easy on me, Triggs, whatever you do.
Well, I know what you like now. Once you've had half a pint of cider, you're anyone's, aren't you? Yeah.
Well, I've got my Thatchers on, so all bets are off.
Yeah. Clashes with your hair, though, lad.
Speaking of Thatcher's, Curbs, the news come out today. You've gone back down to Somerset.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I'm absolutely stoked by it. Honestly, it's a little bit mixed emotions, to be honest, because obviously I wanted to. We're doing some really good stuff up there at Derby, and I'm leaving some fantastic people behind there. But I wanted to get back to the kids, to the family. I've got a real soft spot for Somerset. I had some fantastic days down there, especially with my mate down there with Triggs. And now, obviously, to go back down there as part of the coaching team, I could not be happier, mate. Honestly, it's. I think they're a fantastic side, and I mean, I don't know whether you know much about what they're doing with their academy, but they've got a wonderful pipeline coming through as well. Yeah. So I'll stuff it all up when I go down
there. Where is your family based now, Curbs?
Bristol.
Right, so they've been there for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's but all that commuting and travelling, and although I've absolutely loved the last few years up at Derby, and I really, really have, it's took its toll a little bit. I won't go into too many details, but I had a little bit of a health scare at the end of the season.
Testicular cancer.
I was going to say, Sam, you're looking a little pale, lad. You never had the greatest tan in the world, but I don't know, mate. Have you got a little blue light on in front of you or something?
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing what this Thatchers does. It warms you right up, mate. Hey, no,
can I just say that chlamydia is not as bad as you think?
Anyway, you can't catch that twice, so I'm all right. Don't worry about that.
I am being naughty.
Stephen,
I am being naughty.
I think you can. You can.
Mate, in my opinion, Somerset's got the best bowling attack in the country, led by Craig. I know Jamie's now gone, but Craig, I reckon, the best bowler on the county circuit at the minute, and he leads that attack. And what was was it the start last year that they didn't concede one bowling point in the whole Bob Willis, one batting point, sorry. Yeah. Which is outstanding. So to go down and work with that kind of attack must be, you must be chomping at the bit.
I just feel so privileged, to be honest with you, to go and hopefully help out and offer a little bit of expertise here and there. But I mean, from a championship perspective, they're the forerunners, aren't they? You know, they only go at 2.2 and over. They've got an attack that it's balanced. It can take wickets on any pitch. They've got spin, they've got bounce, they've got now pace with Marchant de Lange as well, some huge pace.
Triggs. Triggs.
Yeah, yes, Foxy.
Did you head hunt him?
Mate, to be honest, obviously being the Prince of Western-super-Mare, I have a big say in what goes on in Somerset. And to be honest, he only got the job because we're in Tier 3. We couldn't get anyone else.
That was me trying to be ever so serious about the bowling attack, and it's all gone south, hasn't it?
No, it hasn't. No. I believe you completely, and I think you're completely right. But I was just looking at poor Treg sitting in the basement of his own house.
No, I mean, Foxy, I've got to be honest. Like, you know, when Steve signed for Somerset, it was as a player. You know, after having sort of 10 years of him spitting at me from 22 yards away and sometimes closer with his follow through, I was like, what the hell's going on here? But, you know, to have someone like him as a teammate and obviously watching him, how he's developed as a coach, I mean, he's got a vast amount of experience. And, you know, I think the old school bowlers like Curbs will certainly add massive value to Somerset, their young lads. And one of the things I think that, you know, has sort of gone out of the game a little bit is the ferocity of the sort of the way that bowlers go about their business. I'm sure Steve will bring that in because he was a fierce competitor himself. I mean, at times I think the Somerset team have been sometimes criticised for sometimes being a little bit too nice. I'm sure that will change with the Ginger Ninja headed down south to sort
it's always been one of those things, hasn't it? That somebody who you hate playing against, you love playing with. And I think that's I think that's quite relevant. And the thing with Curbs is, and I've always loved this, that he is who he is off the pitch. He's passionate, he's unbelievably driven. But as soon as he gets on the pitch, he turns into a different person, which is fine. I have admiration for that. But when he gets back off the pitch, he turns into the bloke that he is again. You know, he's an old
he's an absolute fanny off the pitch.
Yeah. It's an old tradition, isn't it? That on the pitch is on the pitch and off the pitch is off.
That's it. When I first started playing, I remember playing against Somerset with Curbs and Triggs, and you know I was just starting out, and I remember going in number 10 or 11. It was either me or Bunny who was 10 or 11. We used to swap every week because it was just pick out of a hat and see who goes in. But I remember facing Triggs one of my first games, and no disrespect to Triggs, we're not blessed with pace. But there's something I picked up from the way you went about your business is doesn't matter what pace you bowl, you can still be aggressive and go hard at people. And for me, that was an early learning curve. Watching you two go about that is really, you know, fiery. I know we had Bunny in the team, who was quite aggressive himself. But watching you two lads who are, you know, you're not the same type of bowler, but you're getting it from both ends. That's something I looked and thought.
What I love about bowlers, it's not how fast you are, it's not how much you swing the ball or seam the ball, it's how good you are. And you can be good at any pace, at any level. And that is something that a lot of people don't understand.
Well, it's really interesting you say that, Foxy. I mean, I know it's a mutual appreciation society here, a little bit with Triggs down there, but I watched him go about his business this year with Notts, and it was good to watch, actually. Now I'm on the receiving end of him as a coach. Just never give us anything. Open the bowling, you know, true testament to what I would believe longevity is and fitness. And, you know, Triggs has gone about, well, there was a little change in your career, mate, wasn't there? At one point, I think it was around about the 30 mark, where you'd have a pint, you were still pretty fit, but you weren't. I mean, you've literally gone the opposite way now.
Mate, look at his house.
Hey,
Look at his house.
I know,
He's in the base. He's in the basement.
but honestly, like
Hey.
he went about his business.
Hey, Foxy, hang on a minute, mate. This is my bedroom, lad. This ain't Wait, this is the workbench. This is where all the magic happens.
Oh, I'll take your word for that.
No, but seriously, lads, like watching the way he went about his business this year, he went in, he opened the bowling, he bowled long spells, you know, and I don't know how many years you've still got left, Tree, but if you keep bowling like that, lad, you'll be sweet. And I'm not quite sure how the knees will still hold up, but mate, it was good to watch. And actually, when you go back to what you were saying there, Rushy, about, you know, me being the other end, you learn a lot from people like him. You know, and actually being able to bowl in a partnership. Sometimes you pick up a wicket at the other end. You're the one that's bowled the absolute pile of crap, haven't you, really, compared to where the other fella is. And it's about building the pressure. And he were brilliant to bowl with down at the other end. And, you know, you do exactly the same up there, don't you? And you're all about building that pressure. So now being a coach, you can really, really, really appreciate people who deliver that level of skill.
All right. Bit like yourself, Jonny. Not blessed with pace, but really aggressive.
Yeah. Fucking. Well, no, were you capable of bowling late 30s, early 40s, right? You've got to fucking give them some, haven't you? Do you know what I mean?
You've got to scare them, mate, haven't you? It's about intimidation.
Frighten them. But no, Curbs, I was reading earlier on, mate, about, you know, a very aggressive bowler. You know, was that kind of just a thing that kind of just got you going? Was that something you needed to be kind of aggressive in people's faces to like get going and bowl well? Is that something you kind of needed to do, or was it something that just fucking happened?
I've got to be honest, I was a bit of an idiot when I first started playing, but it was really to get rid of the demons in my head, if I'm totally honest. And believe you me, you won't want to spend 5 minutes in my head, mate, because there's a few demons. But...
Oh, lads, I've got to stop you. I've got a Tango story from my first game I played against him. I think this will sum Curbs up, right? So, first game with him, I know he was like a bull at the end of his like run up, literally scratching the floor. He could not wait to get going, and he's looking up. I could tell he's quite an emotional bloke on and off the field. Looking up, gave it the old father-son Holy Ghost, kissed the ball. I looked at him at mid-off, obviously trying to give him a bit of support. I just said, "Hey, Curbs, mate, didn't realise you were religious." He just looked at me and went, "I ain't." Just ran in and bowled.
Curbs, what was the crack with Atherton? Because didn't you give Atherton a bit of chip, didn't you, one game?
Oh, you know what? He's lost it. You know, I must have said it 1,000 times, but all I said to him at one point, because I thought, how the hell am I going to get this bloke out? Right? He is an absolute, world genius. Probably one of the best batters we've ever produced. And like, he's coming to the end of his career. The last thing he wants is a big idiot gingerhead running at him. So I thought, I've got to try and make him laugh somehow. Somehow he's going to have to nick off. And I just out of the blue, I said, "Look, mate, I've seen better batters in a fish and chip shop. Why are you just, and he just started giggling his out, and everyone couldn't believe what they were hearing. And about 2 balls later, he nicked off, so did the job.
Works.
But yeah, no, I mean, coming out with the odd sledging story here and there, the best one I probably, and this is a true story, as true as I sit here. I'm bowling at Scoey, and we're playing against Lancs, and we're at Headingley, and I'm getting pretty, because I don't know if he ever bowled at Chris Schofield, but he was a very good player, but he could hit you in all those stupid funny areas, back with a point, and couldn't set a field to him, and I'm getting pretty pissed off. So I said to Merv Kitchen, I said, "Look, I'm coming around the wicket, mate. Call an effing ambulance." And he's gone, "What?" And I've gone, "Mate," and I'm steaming. There's steam coming out of my ears. I've gone, "Mate, I'm coming round the wicket. You better call a fucking ambulance." And at which point, I've got Silvers at mid-on, and I've got Oggy at mid-off. And they're laughing their head off as well. And I'm literally stomping back to my mark, right? And Merv goes to Scully. He goes, "Listen, mate," he said, "apparently Curbs is coming round the wicket, mate. And I've got to call an ambulance, apparently. And at which point then, he didn't have to be a rocket scientist to work out what was coming next, did he? He had his time to have his tea and biscuits before he smacked this thing. And he hit it straight off the front of his nose. I thought it was quite quick, right? And it's gone straight, it went like a rocket into the West Stand. And there was this bloke from Barnsley eating a corned beef knacker and a coffee. And it ricocheted off about 3 seats and hit him straight on the head. In come a bloody ambulance, carted him off. And that's the God's honest truth, that happened. But mate, no, the odd sledging story here and there has come back and bit me on the ass, I think, a few times, I can tell you.
Triggs, we had a question on Facebook earlier, sort of linked to sledging, and said, is Gareth Batty on your Christmas card list?
Yeah, it's amazing that you play 20 years against one bloke, you have one row on TV, and it goes a bit crazy. I mean, to be fair, like it's just like the heat of the moment. Bats is he's a fierce competitor, but I think every now and then he just goes a little bit over the top, and he reminds me of Scrappy Doo, you know, Scooby Doo's like angry little cousin. And like, I'm not the biggest bloke in the world, but I fancy my chances of bopping him on the end of the hoop. And he just came, he got me out, fair play to him, but he walked straight towards me, like chest out, giving it the big one. Just he was calling me an awful lot of really naughty names. And obviously he just stood me ground, and we had a little bit of a coming together. And, you know, those sort of things happen on the field. So to be honest, like, I find it quite embarrassing, really, because I'm a little bit old school. If you have a little bit of a fracas with someone, I don't want the umpires getting involved and people being reported and this, that, and the other. But I got to be honest, my breakfast did taste very nice the next morning when I heard he'd been banned for the final, to be fair. But there we go.
That's where the game's changed, isn't it? Like, young bowlers, you get aggressive, but it's not like aggressive banter. Like, I think the fact that the way the game's gone, it's a lot more professional in terms of strength and conditioning, fitness side of things, beers after a game and stuff. So you don't get the chance, once you've had that sort of aggression on the pitch, you don't get the opportunity to sit afterwards and, you know, actually meet someone and have a big crack off the field to find out whether or not they're a good bloke or not.
Yeah, is that not happening?
I think the umpires step in a bit too soon. I mean, like I said, like Foxy mentioned earlier, some of the people you row against the most on the field end up sometime in your career being some of your best mates. I mean, I'll give you a couple of names, for instance, Kirby being one, Ricky Clark. The first, like, 5 or 6 years playing against Ricky Clark, I could not stand the bloke. Went on a Hong Kong Sixes trip, ended up really good mates, you know, when he plays, you know, whenever, or he's playing for Surrey or Warwickshire and he's down this end, he comes to the house and all that sort of stuff. I mean, and on the field, we were a disgrace at times. Like, I remember, like, Clarkey bowling at me back in the day when he had a little bit of acne as well. I was like, I think we're having a proper do. And I said, mate, can you hurry up and get me out? I'm sick of looking at your ugly face. And, like, properly going at each other. And then, like I said, you get to know them. I think those sort of characters, I think players that are willing to go at each other are so similar in personality that when you do have the chance to step off the field and have that beer or be in the same team somewhere down the line, you end up being the best mates with the people you hate the most. I completely agree with Foxy. And in this day and age now with all the franchise cricket, you know, I've signed to like franchises in different parts of the country, and I'm like, oh my God, my teammate is so-and-so. I ruined him that day. It was, and like, you go into that team room the first time embarrassed that you're like, sorry, you remember that game where I rinsed you for like 12 hours straight? I'm really, really sorry. I'm not a bad bloke. But that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? But yeah, the umpires are all over it now. They don't even let you, they don't really let you get stuck in anymore.
No.
But there should be the understanding that who you are on the pitch is not who you are after. My classic situation was I've been playing for Lancashire Second 11, and in the Lancashire Leagues was Jeff Lawson. Australian quick bowler, and we became really good friends because he played a few games for Lancashire Seconds. He played at a club that I knew, and we became good mates. And we played basically a full season together in Lancashire Second 11. Then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, I end up playing Test cricket against him. From the minute he bowled his first ball at me, he has effed and blinded at me all day. And initially I thought he was a friend. What the hell's going on here? But right, just deal with it, just get on with it. So I just batted and batted and batted. Didn't get many runs, but I was not out. End of the day, the rule is, used to be in Australia, the fielding side sit in their dressing room, the batting side, after half an hour, go in and have a drink. So on the batting side, I go through the door and I am actually wondering what's going to happen. As soon as I go through the door, Jeff Lawson looks at me and goes, "Foxy, got your beer, come here." So I go and sit next to him, and I immediately realise that what happens on the pitch is what's happening. And what happens off the pitch is who we are. And that, to me, was the best lesson ever. Because...
So basically what you say, Foxy, is all cricketers are bipolar.
well, no, not really. Well, maybe in a way. But you know as well as I do, Triggs, that people that you hate on the pitch can be good mates, and people who you like on the pitch, when you get off it, you don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. There are two environments in our lives. There's being on the pitch and being off, and the two don't marry. Not very often. So we have to get used to dealing with that. And I think that's fine. And I think, as a whole, most players do it really well. You included.
You're right, though, Foxy. I don't actually think we get an opportunity to go and have a beer properly. I mean, you guys up at Durham, all the Durham boys, they do it really well. But it's not something that happens around the county circuit regularly enough. And actually, that's when you learn the game. That's where
I was lucky enough to play in a very social era where I was encouraged to talk to the opposition, drink with the sponsors, try and learn stuff. Now, with a lot of ice baths and massages and turning up in tracksuits and not dealing with sponsors, that's disappeared. Now, I do understand that the game is probably more professional now than it was when I played, but it's not as much of a laugh. But that's how things are. That's how things change.
Probably. What you didn't say earlier, Foxy, about your Elton John story, that was in between day 2 and 3 of a test match, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was in New Zealand, and it was just after the last test had finished, and it was before we flew to Pakistan. So when I got to Pakistan, I had to take my own stitches out of my hand.
Triggs, you're on about playing for new teams and franchises and stuff. Made the move up to Trent Bridge this year. Obviously, the season didn't start quite when we wanted. So your first act as a Notts player was the old charity song during lockdown.
Oh, mate. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, my God. I was asked to do it. And it was like, if I was comfortable in my surroundings, I'd have said, no thanks, lads. I mean, I got sent a couple of clips of what the boys had done, and 2 spring to mind. I give myself like a 4 out of 10. No superstar, definitely not.
No way.
But Tom Moore's humming effort and Zach Chappell's bit was some of the worst I've ever. It was so awkward because they were trying to do like puppy dog eyes down the camera as well. I've never been so embarrassed to be part of well, I heard it went to like number 73 in South Korea. It was all right.
No way. I reckon Eurovision Song Contest would have got kicked out of that as well. It was a shocker.
Yeah.
Oh.
Zach, I love that. You got a great singing voice, haven't you,
Yeah.
Tang?
I can have a croon if you want. We can have a little sing song on here if you want.
I remember the bus trip in Abu Dhabi. You sang a good song. Kept the team entertained.
Do you remember? I don't know whether this is the right story, the right time to bring this story out, but my God. Anyway, we're in the Yas Island, aren't we? Which is an unbelievable hotel. It's right where the Formula One track is. And I'll be really quick with this, but we get to the end of the tour or the end of the trip. And I've heard on the grapevine with a bloke in there, behind the reception, he said Guns N' Roses are playing in Abu Dhabi. We're like, Guns N' Roses aren't here. Yeah, honestly, Slash.
Riggs knows what's coming here.
They're all over. They're all in this main hotel just to pass Ferrari World. So I come upstairs and I say to Trego, I said, mate, I said, there's a cracking bar. It's only about 15 minutes away. Shall we pop along? Anyway, I get a few of the lads together and off we go. And I didn't tell him at all that Guns N' Roses were this place, because if he weren't there or they weren't there, I'd have looked a bit of a nana. Anyway, so we get in this thing. We moan like hell for it. It took us about 40 minutes in this cab to get to this place.
Emirates Palace, wasn't it?
That's right, it was. And we get into this place, and lo and behold, Foxy, I promise you, Guns N' Roses are in there. Axl Rose, Slash, and there's this double bass player. I don't know what he's called, the bass player, but he is Camper to Raw Tense, right? Oh my God. Which is fine. There's no problem about that. But anyway, he takes a bit of a liking to Trego.
Do you know most people would be like in their life, because obviously being a big sort of 70s, 80s rock fan would be like probably telling all of their mates, oh, do you remember that night that we went out and we met the Guns N' Roses? I have never told that story to anyone. I have never met Guns N' Roses ever. Never happened.
But why not? Why not?
I don't know now. I'm only messing. But I'm with you, mate. Live and let live, isn't it? Whatever floats your boat. But one-way traffic in the Trego household, I'm afraid, Foxy.
Can I just say this?
I'm not an uphill gardener either. but I do understand. I do understand that people may, on the odd occasion, find me attractive, but that doesn't mean to say I find them attractive. I've found lots of women attractive, and they haven't fucking liked me, which has been the story of my life. But that's just how it goes, you know. So what?
Can I just assure everybody at this stage listening that this podcast is called Length Does Matter. And we are still a cricket podcast.
Well,
I'm not sure that one will be going out.
Cricket embraces all aspects of life.
Sorry about that, Rushy.
Nah, mate.
Trego is a highly talented bloke who lives in the public eye. He is going to be found attractive by all sorts of people, men, women, whoever else.
Non-binary.
Yeah. So that's just part of life. That's just how it is. It doesn't affect Trego.
No.
Or
don't bother me, mate.
Trego, you're a good-looking fella. Look after yourself.
Look at his fucking biceps.
When he's got good guns. When you turned up to Somerset as a 16-year-old, did you have any sort of like piercings or anything like that?
Someone's been speaking to Daz Vaness. Well, to be honest, like it's mad, isn't it? How you change and evolve as a human? Because I got signed to go and play for Nottinghamshire, a massive club in the country, because of the mature effect that I might have on their young players, and that blew my head. Do you know what I mean? It was like 20 years ago or 24 years ago when I turned up at Somerset, my first sort of senior session. I was an absolute loony. I mean, Kev Shine, who's now the bowling coach up at Nottingham, who was sort of on the coaching staff at Somerset at the time with Daz, he said that his biggest concern on a day-to-day basis was I still alive. I mean, I'd just be all over the place. And yeah, I think I turned up at one training session. I think I was bowling the nets, and I was obviously being a little bit quiet. And I think I might have got a little nip back, a bit of an LBW, didn't appeal like I normally do, being a little bit off colour. And Daz went up to you and goes, "You're a bit quiet today, Trego. What's wrong with you?" "I can't talk, Dad. I had my tongue pierced last night." My mouth was all swollen. I had my tongue pierced the day before. My tongue was the size of Jamie Oliver's, and I was all over the place. And 20 years later, I'm being signed to a new club because I'm mature. I mean, where does the time go, eh?
In Daz's words, it was a tongue pierced with 0.5 kilo of cubic zirconia.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, it was. It was a decent chunk of steel. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. I reckon there was a period in my sort of 20s where I was probably the most dangerous bored person on the planet. Anything could happen if I got bored. Absolutely mental. But luckily, I ended up rooming with Kirby, and I could just take it out on him.
Be a good partnership, that.
Oh, Rushy, let me tell you, there was one time where we didn't room together, and we were off in Bangalore, and mate, honestly, it was one of the best trips we've ever been on. It was the Champions League, and Somerset did amazingly well. We got to the last 4, with a really young side I might add as well. But anyway, cut long story short, it was like you had like maybe 4 or 5 days between each sort of training days and games and what have you. We come back after one training day, and we're at this 7-star hotel. Now, I had no idea what you get for 7 stars, right? But now I do. Because basically, we get back, and he goes back into his room, and the rooms were like absolutely spandangling. Anyway, he comes out, and he says to me, "Curbs," he said, "you're not going to believe what's just happened to me." I said, "What?" He said, "Mate, I got back from training. I was feeling a little bit toey." And he said, "So I thought I might, knock one off." Anyway, so he basically gets his beats on, and he does. And he said, but he didn't realise he didn't realise. So he's got the iPad out. He's doing whatever he's doing. He's got the beats on, and it's all flying. Anyway, next thing you know, he said his toes curled up. He went into overdrive, and there's a bloody butler at the end of the bed going, "Oh dear, Mr. Trego, do you fancy a towel?" He's like, "That's what you get for the extra 2 stars, Rush." You know what I mean? He was like,
that's nearly a true story. It's nearly true, that.
It's a proper story.
What else is there to do when you're bored?
Well, exactly. And you get a butler to wipe you down, Triggs, don't you? I've toned that down a little bit, Rushy, but I don't know whether that can go out as well.
He's still shaking his head down there, man, Triggs. He's not happy with that.
Yeah, it's not entirely. It's close. I'll just say it's close to the truth. We'll brush over that one. I was working on me seam position. That's all I was defending.
The in-swinger.
Speaking of roommates, what about time? Did you room with Max Waller once? Something about Space Max?
Oh, mate, that was unbelievable. I got photos on the phone. I'll send them to you so you can share them with people. I mean, yeah, we were. I think we were at Desert Springs in pre-season, and I think they just sprayed the greens with whatever toxic stuff they use these days. And he was like licking his golf ball or whatever he was doing. And we got back to the room. I went, "You're right, mate." And he's like, he had no eyes. He was like, he literally just, you know that film Hitch with Will Smith? He just had like some shock to, he had like eyeballs all over the place, lumps coming out of his neck. And instead of being like a decent bloke and looking after him, I just took photos of him while he was like struggling to breathe in the corner. Probably one of the best, it was the best 5 minutes of my life before I stabbed him with the old needle. But yeah, he was struggling on Waller. Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like. I mean, it's class, the lifestyle we have going around. If I could ask, is it okay? Can I ask you some questions, Rushy?
Absolutely.
Obviously, Foxy mentioned earlier about obviously you know, pace is a little bit subjective, and you know, obviously you've been such a high performer in county cricket for so many years, and the bowling attack you were involved in, you know, that period in the sort of mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s when you won the championships. Obviously, you'd had Ian Blackwell come up from Somerset as well. Just, you know, that must have been pretty epic. And how special was that to probably be? You must have been the highest wicket taker in that period as well. I mean, that must be pretty awesome for you.
Nah, so when they won the back-to-back championships, I joined in 2009. So I re-signed Blackie's first year. So I watched the second championship win, and then I started playing the year after. I mean, when I started playing, Harmy was just finishing off his England stuff. Bunny was in the mix with England, Pudsey. Callum Thorpe was around. So when I first started, I think I made my debut in 2010. So I kind of sort of just as Harmy finished, played a lot of years with Bunny. Pudsey had some good years with Pudsey, and then he kind of lost his way a bit at Durham before he went to Yorkshire. So most of my attack was with Bunny, Callum Thorpe for a few years. We all seemed to work really well. But being around that attack at the time, there was obviously Harmy, Gibbo just finished, so he was still around. Pudsey, Onions, Mitch Claydon. You know, you had Mark Davies was still around, who used to take 60 wickets by June every year, and then just puncture along or something.
Towards the end. The reason I wanted to ask that though is because obviously Tim Murtaugh, who I played England under 19s with, somehow found an Irish passport and took 5 foot in a test match. Surely you must have been born close enough to the Scotch border to try and get yourself in a little test match or something, or an ODI.
I've tried. I've rang grandparents and all sorts to try and figure a way out, but nah, got nothing, mate. Nothing. I think the closest I got was one of my grands married a Norwegian fella, and that was about it. But,
well, you know, be a Viking, mate. You never know, do you?
Mate.
Hey?
I'd love it.
No, I just to echo what Triggs was saying there, Rushy, you've been one of the best performers in county cricket for many, many, many years. What's been your secret, mate? What A, to longevity, and B, to your bowling as well as you have for as long as you have? What's your secret?
Lack of air.
Apart from Foxy, we're just a big pager. We're a pager nearlies, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm interested in this though, because Curbs is right. So I just want to listen to what the very shy Rushy will say.
But he's very modest, mate. He's very modest, and you know, you're a serious performer, big fella. So, what's your secret?
I'll be honest. I'd try and keep it simple. When I speak to sort of young lads or even lads who are coming into our team, I know it sounds dead basic, but try and hit the stumps. Try and have as many methods of dismissal as possible.
Yeah.
And like because I'm not blessed with pace, similar to I have the ability to move the ball both ways. And it's just trying to hit the stumps as much as possible. And then, you know.
Can you, right, a question. Can you decide which way the ball's going, or is it chance?
Nah, majority of the time I'll have control which way it goes. Obviously, the odd time you get natural variation on the odd occasion, but majority of the time I'll know what it's doing, or I'd like to think so.
I love that.
To be fair, Rushy, you do hit the stump spot a lot, lad. But that last LBW you got off me, that one hit in the stumps. Jesus Christ, I've got a bruise on me thigh.
Give our.
No, but it's good.
Some bad decisions that game.
Oh. You know what though, lads? It's good to have two serious performers on here. Obviously, Triggs and yourself, and not take me out of this, but you two, you used to be able to shake the ball away and have a wobble seam that could deck back. Now it's something I tried to grab hold of, and I could never really get until towards the end of my career. And it interests me because you both got it. What do you do? Because you both do it in a different way, don't you?
I just play with the same position more than anything. when I first started playing, so that 2010, 11, 12, I got picked as a swing bowler. So I came in and tried to swing it, and the odd one I would try and swing in. And then it would have been probably 2014, 15. We played down at Taunton and had a bit of a chat with Matt Maynard. I'm sure he was down there at the time, or it was whenever Maynard was in charge down there. And he was saying, batsmen, every time you get a batsman on the bowling machine, they're set up to face away swingers. Everyone, it's their sort of default to face away swing as a right-hander. So why the bowlers not just try and nip everything back? So the next year, I thought, I'm going to try that. And I tried to bowl more sort of off-cutters and in-swingers than anything that went away. And that was the year I took 85 wickets or whatever it was. And it was just, you just listen to someone and it, it was one of those things where it just worked, and sometimes it happens. So I guess the last few years I've gone away from trying to swing the ball and just trying to use the seam with a little bit of swing now and again.
Just to interrupt, if you want Matt Maynard on any of these, not difficult.
He'd be brilliant, actually. He'd be
Good eye.
brilliant to get a batting perspective. But Treg, you're also brilliant at being able to bowl that wobble seam deck back ball. He'd set people up. And something that really fascinated me, actually, with your 90-mile-an-hour pace and that.
I mean, to be honest, and I'm not being modest here, I've got I personally felt I've got almost zero attributes to be a seam bowler at a professional level. And no, I'm not being modest or anything like that, but I can remember that the moment that sort of changed it all for me was half an hour with Dermot Reed when I was about 18, 19. And Dermot Reed, when I watched footage of Dermot Reed, I mean, yeah, he's probably got a decent record, but he was probably quite similar. I mean, almost like that Chris Harris type bowler, the Kiwi guy. I mean, he had an awkward action, but he almost became a master of his wrist and his hand, because he couldn't really he wasn't going to offer pace, he wasn't going to bounce people out, all that kind of stuff. I mean, he had to master really what he did with the ball. And I can remember, I'm sitting here now just messing with me, the middle finger on the right hand, so I've always got a callus on that hand, and I sort of like flick the ball off of that finger in different ways to sort of try and coax the ball down there with slightly different angles on the seam and just try and get something out of it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, as I've got slower as a bowler, I've got a lot better because I've had to really look at the idiosyncrasies of bowling, which I don't think are coached as much as they should be. Hopefully you'll take this on as a bowling coach yourself down to Taunton. I mean, if you can teach lateral movements, if you could give any bowler in the world like 3 miles an hour less, but the ability to move the ball both ways, you'll double his wicket tally in his career. I'm almost convinced of that. So yeah, I was just a big sponge back in the day. I wasn't interested in talking to people who bowl fast. It was all about people who bent the ball, moved the ball, angled run-ups, like people like Mark Elam and Andre Adams, guys that looked like they got everything out of what they had, were the guys that I always sort of gravitated towards and wanted to emulate. So I still say now that I am the best village cricketer in the country.
Whoa. Hang on.
Okay, that's a good line. Yeah. I like that line.
Fascinating stuff, Tree, because watching it is, and I absolutely love being able to coach now craft, what I call craft, being able to go into, and I think you can only go into craft once you've got a strong, tall, repeatable bowling action. That's really, really important. But it fascinates me because wobble seams are, there's not one way will work. It comes off different fingers for different people and depends on their releases. But I always find it fascinating. And I suppose the other thing I wanted to sort of pick your brains on, and also Rushy, about the T20 stuff. Do you not find a lot of the bowlers now are trying to go for these gun Yorkers? They're missing the bloody things. Not many bouncers being bowled these days, are they? And when they do, they're quite effective, aren't they?
You don't reckon because grounds are so small for bouncers? I know you've still got. Like, I mean, you're probably asking the wrong person here. I didn't play any white ball stuff for the last 2 years, so. But now you're right. I reckon because the grounds are so short, anything goes. I don't know if bowlers are frightened or not. Trego might know. He's played a lot more white ball stuff around the world as well.
I mean, when I'm bowling, I definitely hate as a seam bowler. I hate having the keeper up. I always have him back, so I've got the option of a bouncer. But it always feels like a little bit of a gamble, even though I think I've actually got a reasonably decent sniff. Yeah. But because I think it's how the batsmen set up is they clear the front leg and they're looking to obviously hit the ball like a baseball shot. So they're almost in the perfect position to whack a bouncer as well. And because you're almost committed to having fine leg up as a seamer, sometimes fine leg and third man, especially towards the middle and end of an innings. I mean, you literally you're a top edge away from going over the rope. So I know that the majority of captains in T20 cricket and one-day cricket are batsmen, and they hate obviously the bowlers getting hit for runs, and there's that sort of like trust accountability thing with the player and the captain. It always, whenever a bouncer is bowled and it gets belted for 6, you get rinsed by your captain and you get rinsed by the commentary team if it's on TV, and it probably gets perceived by the coaches as a mental mistake. So,
I just have a basic question. Has any genuine Yorker been hit for 6? Yet get inside edges, outside edges, and they go for 4. But has any genuine Yorker been hit for 6?
No, I think, Foxy, it's a brilliant question, because no, it doesn't get hit for 6. But
I played with a guy called Ian Austin. Right? Stocky, fat bloke. He could bowl Yorkers at will. Yeah. At will. Anytime you wanted. And to my knowledge, he still has the record number of wickets taken in a season of Sunday League at Lancashire, including, and we've had Michael Oldham, Wasim Akram, Patrick Patterson, all the rest of them. He could bowl Yorkers at will. And it's a skill that is, yes, it's difficult. Yes, of course it is. But isn't that part of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that one of the things that's kind of, I mean, the ramp shot, Foxy, to be honest, a Yorker, if you ramp well, is the perfect ball to ramp.
I agree with that. Yeah,
that has changed things quite dramatically. At the end of the day, I mean, you can delve into it. I mean, there's so much like good death bowlers. I believe me and Steve played with probably the best death bowler of our generation in Alfonso Thomas. Yeah. And he had a 90-mile-an-hour bouncer. He could hit wide Yorkers, hit the toes. He had 3 or 4 different slower balls. But there were days where he got met. It's just a bit of a game of cat and mouse, I think, especially at the death.
Right.
I mean, I agree with you. If you could nail 6 perfect Yorkers in a row, you'd probably do quite well around the world. But like I said, the thing is with the ramp shot, if you're bowling against Josh Butler or someone that can ramp well, you can't be predictable. If you're known to be a guy that will only try and hit Yorkers, I don't think you'd survive in the modern game. I think you have to be really versatile and double bluff and triple bluff and reverse Malachi, as Shane Warne would say. You have to play a game as well.
I remember.
I really accept that. I think that's fantastic.
It's really.
I got in touch with Alfonso one winter. Sorry, Curbs. Just about T20 stuff, because obviously I wanted to try and develop my white ball game. This was obviously when I was a bit younger, and I spoke to him about it. I think he was in South Africa at the time, and the one real piece of advice he kind of gave or said was, if you're bowling at the death, you have to want to do it. Whether you go out the ground or you do well, you have to want to do it. Yeah. And if you're not fully committed, that's when you lose control and your plans go to shit.
And I know we're kind of going just off topic very, very slightly. We're talking about Yorkers there. And forgive me if I'm being a little bit naive here. I never really see a lot of Yorkers being bowled in like Test cricket and stuff. And yet it can be such a potent weapon, as Foxy was saying. Yeah. Why do we never see some bowlers trying to bowl Yorkers? I think Darren Goff used to bowl a fucking brilliant Yorker, didn't he, right? Why do we never see that now in Test cricket?
Good point. It's a really, really good point. I mean,
I do not know.
Tails, isn't it?
No. I think time of the play. I think they are still a valuable ball to tail enders. But honestly, even since I started playing in the very late 90s, and you used to get a side 7 down, and you were 20 minutes from having your feet up. You get number 11s getting hundreds now. I mean, a Yorker, unless it's swinging in or the ball's reversed, but in essence, it's just a full straight ball. It used to be very effective to number 11 batsmen like Charles Willoughby, who was a walking wicket. But I mean, you've got 1 to 11 guys that I don't think the Yorker is as effective. It's a great shot ball. If you've got genuine pace, yeah, it's definitely a ball to use. But a full straight ball, it's just
but Triggs, a Yorker doesn't have to be a wicket-taking ball. It can be an upsetting ball. It's something you weren't expecting. You've got it. You've had to deal with it, and then it goes into your mind. What's coming next?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Rabada. Could you say Rabada? I think he bowls a bloody good Yorker. It would certainly upset me if it hit me on the end of the toe. That's for sure.
It's just another part of your armoury.
Mm. But it's interesting you put that point out there about the Yorker. I mean, just going on to 4-day cricket now and just picking up your point there, Triggs, on actual tail enders. There's nothing worse, was there, going into bowl where you got them 6 or 7 down. You felt like you were getting somewhere. In comes a tail ender who can bat a bit, but he's carefree. He doesn't give a monkeys about his wicket, and he's just there for a good time. Not really there for a long time, just there for a good time. And he just wants to smack you from length and gets you a couple of times. And I've found that as bowling coach, probably working with the bowlers, probably one of the most hardest things to deal with, because you bowl length, you bowl hard length, balls done nicely, then the ball gets a bit old and it ain't swinging or it ain't doing a great deal. And in comes some pillock trying to whop you everywhere. It's very frustrating. And I've found one of the solutions to it is actually, and I'll get your opinion on this, Foxy, actually just taking the ball out of their eye line, coming round the wicket, using the odd sniff, the odd bouncer here and there, bang, 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 and then bowling wide at them with a deep third man, deep point. All of a sudden, you've took it out of their eye line. They're not scoring. They're not there for fun. They're actually going to get a few round the Swede a couple of times. And the next thing you know, when a leggy's on the other end, woof, it goes straight up in the air. Because what do they want? They just want to be there just to get the odd 4, the odd 6, bit of fun, take the Michael out you a little bit as a bowler. You're getting more frustrated. You try and search a bit more for the wicket. It's a really interesting dynamic. And what's your perspective as a batter there, taking it out of their eye line, frustrating them?
I'm not so sure what taking it out of the eye line really means, because if you go around the wicket, right, I, as a left-hander, have a point of view from where you're bowling from.
That's because Kirbs could never see the ball.
So it doesn't matter where you're letting it go from. I adjust my stance, so you're never out of my eye line. And if you're gonna pepper me, fine. I bat according to the circumstance of the game. If I need to stay in, I'll try to. If I need to score runs, I'll try to. So that doesn't really bother me.
Well, to be fair, Foxy, probably you're the wrong man to ask there, because you could actually seriously bat for quite a period of time, and you actually were quite good at it. But you know, with other people like you were a tail ender, particularly myself, who Probably went through more helmets than bats, Foxy, as you full well know. But no, I just think it's when you actually get. I just find that tail ender scenario quite an interesting one, and it's a challenge that a lot of the modern game now, I think, in 4-day cricket is seeing more of.
I'm with you on that, Curbs. We've struggled not struggled, but I reckon more so the last couple of years of breaking the last wicket. And I know, you speak to other people around the circuit, and I know for a fact other teams have found the same as well. Sort of.
My advice would, as a coach, would be hit the fucking wickets. If you aim to hit the wickets, right, they're either gonna hit it, but I'm not so sure where it's gonna go. They may nick it, they may be LB, but hit the wickets. Don't get overawed by big dynamic plans. Just do what you do, because what you do gets you all those wickets against great bowlers. So against great batsmen. So it's got to get you the same results against people who can't bat that well. Right, they might swipe you for a couple of 4s and 6, but they are not good enough to bat against your caliber.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dynamic, Foxy, because it's changing. The game's changing a bit, and I don't mean that in a sense of
I know what you're saying.
There's no rabbits anymore. There's no genuine rabbit apart from me when I used to play. Obviously, Rushy, you could even knock it around a bit, but I just think there aren't that many rabbits around anymore. They can actually hold a bat, and then when they're
so you must bowl at them like you bowl at everybody else. If you got the top 5 out by bowling a certain way, can't you get the last 6 out the same way?
I can't wait for Somerset next year to bowl a load of wides.
Triggs, will you do me a huge favour?
I'll try.
Will you leave me 2 tickets on the gate?
Mate, absolutely not an issue. Not an issue, my man. Can you bring Renata along?
No, she still lives in Germany.
So that's right. Talking about pre-season, obviously Rushy, Triggs, pre-season's already kicked off. Curbs, pre-season outfit, golf.
Pre-season golf? What do you mean?
Pre-season outfit, golf.
Was there a Cornwall pre-season one year, something like that, at the golf course?
Come on, fella.
There was actually. I don't know if this is the story you want me to tell, but I'll go for it. But
the most bad on here, pal.
Hey, no. Basically, I was playing with this guy. It was we went down to St. Melian. It was pre-season, and we were playing there with Martin Ball. I don't know if you remember Bawley from Gloucester, a top bloke, good friend of mine. And we all used to go down. And one of the lads was a butcher, right, from Chipping Sodbury, and a boxer, right. He had bald head, but a massive bloke, and one of the most. Well, he was a gentle giant, a fantastic fella. Anyway, we off we go. We play this game at St. Melian, but it's absolutely drizzling down, and he smacks it. We're on this. We're on the buggies, and we get on about the 8th tee. Boom, smack it down the fairway, but I can't see where it's gone, and I know I've hit it pretty central. And this fella who I'm with, he's also hit it pretty central as well, but we can't see it. Anyway, drive up there in the buggy, off we pop. Get there, and we find the ball. It's right in the centre of the fairway, but about 10 metres away from the ball is a tree right in the centre of the fairway. And I'm thinking, Bill, you're not going to hit it round that tree, mate. His feet are lined up right at this tree. So I'm thinking, anyway, I never thought anything of it. I sit there on the buggy and watch. And he absolutely tattoos this thing. And it hits the slabs that this tree were in. And he's right in the middle of his policy like this. And it came back at pace, right? Woof! And it came back and it smashed him straight on the forehead. And I'm like, oh my God, he's just going to keel over. He's dead. He's absolutely dead, right? It's hit him hard, right? And do you know what? He just stood there and he went, like that, just shook his head as if nothing had happened. And this bloody lump came out of his forehead about this big, right? I'm thinking, anyway, he's thinking a bit worse for wear. He gets back in the buggy. He didn't really go and find his ball. I hit mine onto the green, and I chip and put on. Sorry, just off the green, chip and put on. I'm quite happy with myself. So I come diving back into the buggy, and he's got his seven. I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 iron on his lap. But I didn't realise it. And as I dive into the buggy, I hit the club, and it just bounces up, ricochets, hits him in the side of the Swede. So he's been hit by this golf ball, and he's now opened himself up. And I'm like, oh, he didn't kill me. I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, so he'd be fair to say he's not really going to want to play a game of golf with Steve Kirby anymore.
How was your golf, Curbs?
What are you looking for there, Rushy?
Nah, something about a fancy dress outfit or something is what we got told. You obviously know that one.
Probably got nothing to do with that story then, no.
You weren't in fancy dress at the time, were you, Curbs?
Well, no, I wasn't actually.
Wait, I've seen his gears. Anything could happen. Now we mentioned Curbs sort of now into coaching role. Triggs, you've testing the waters in a new career, TV presenting for the old Bristol City, is it, or Bristol Rovers?
How dare you mention the gas? Bristol City, mate. Yeah, if you can spare $9.99, tune into Robin's TV on Boxing Day. I'll be doing that fixture, so that'd be cool. It's been great actually. Yeah, my first sort of effort presenting live television. I've done a few bits and bobs, documentaries. Obviously, never get any work off of Sky Cricket, for God's sake. But so it's going to be pretty exciting. Is that
the path you go? I must admit, I've watched a couple of the documentaries, and I actually found them fascinating. And you're made for TV. I'm not going to lie. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You are made for TV.
What I would like to say is, Triggs, your cricket career has been an apprenticeship for what you're about to do.
You've
That's
never
very
said
kind, Foxy. Very kind,
never
Rushy.
said that was.
To be fair, lads, I thought you had a great face for radio myself. But anyway, I don't know about you lot.
Fucking hell, look who's talking. What? You should be on Junkyard Challenge. What is it? Scrap Heap Challenge. Today we take a ginger twat and turn him into a coach. You know I don't mean that.
I know, Foxy. I love you, mate. I love you.
Was that the desired route then, Triggs?
I tell you what. Do you know what? I don't know if you know this, guys, but I'm a little bit of a show off. Now, obviously, my career cricket, I love playing up to the crowd, and
you're actually not. You're not a show off. You're quite shy.
No, I mean, I love. I genuinely have a passion for like entertaining, and I love the idea of the media stuff. I think I've always been pushed by Somerset in the past to be the sort of Q&A guy, and I've hosted the dinners and all that kind of stuff, done some after dinner speaking, which is terrifying, as I'm sure Foxy will back me up on if he's ever done it. I'm sure, yeah, you haven't, Foxy. But you got so many cool stories. I mean, you can reel off Elton John stories, so you got an audience made for you. But I did my first game against Blackburn Rovers, and 9 minutes before going live, I was absolutely panicking. And the head of Bristol City Media, Lisa Knight, she used to work for Sky Sports, after the show said some quite nice things. I had loads of sort of messages through social media saying that they liked my performance. So hopefully I'll get some work. That's the key, is actually getting some work. But Lisa said after the show that she said, I know what's going to happen. We're going to train you up, and Sky Sports are going to pinch you. But we'll see. I'm really excited to work in football. I'd obviously love to work in cricket, obviously, because I think my knowledge base is a lot better. But in terms of like presenter anchors, obviously Sky Sports have got Wardy and a host of fantastic guys that do that job. So I'll go and disappear off to do a bit of championship football, and maybe one day I'll get some work in cricket. But yeah, I've still got a few runs of wickets to get first, though. I need to get you out LBW to get you back first as well, Rushy.
Triggs, it's actually funny how you mentioned you're working for a Bristol club and doing the after dinners and stuff. I once hosted an after dinner event with Ian Holloway, and I introduced him to 200 people as a former Bristol City player and manager.
Oh, mate, honestly, I kid you not. This is a genuine story of my first game.
Fucking sit down.
Mate, I'm amazed you didn't get your ticket, your train ticket given to you there and then. So my first game on Robin's TV, 9 minutes before going live, it's a bit of a sensory overload presenting, right? It was 3 cameras, producer in the ear, live game going on, a lot to handle for a first time. So the producer said, let's just do a quick little rehearsal of your opening, whatever you're going to say, which was, good evening and welcome to Robin's TV for today's Sky Bet Championship match versus Bristol City and Blackburn Rovers. That was what I was meant to say. But obviously, if I said the word Rovers on Robin's TV, I would never work again. And obviously, they're playing Blackburn Rovers. So in the rehearsal, I introduced them as Bristol Rovers and Blackburn City. And the producer went, Triggs, please don't do that when we go live. But it got in my head that I was going to say Bristol Rovers. I mean, it would have ruined me, but I mean, I got through it. But yeah, you can't say the word Rovers within 20 miles of Ashton Gate without getting in some serious trouble. Yeah,
I got in a bit of trouble, Ollie, to be honest, that night. Are you a big Bristol City fan, Triggs?
I wouldn't say I was a fan, but obviously they're my most local club. I go to watch them quite a bit because one of my best mates is Marcus Truskothic is a vice president there. I will be, obviously, my interest in them is quite large at the moment, but they're not like my boyhood club. I've always liked Manchester United. Big George Best fan.
My worst nightmare, Man U fans who are not from bloody Manchester.
Yeah, with a Noel Gallagher t-shirt on.
It's a Christmas jumper, man, right? The only reason, Jesus, it's fake that, mate. I work in memorabilia.
There we go.
The only reason I'm asking, Triggs, Sunderland have got your old man, like Bristol City's old manager, Lee Johnson.
Yeah, he's going to be awesome. He's a really nice fellow. I mean,
interesting character.
I mean, I played non-league football as a goalkeeper, and I can remember Yeovil Town back in the day. It would have been probably early 2000s. Gary Johnson was manager of Yeovil Town. Gary Johnson became City manager before Lee did. Gary Johnson made his name in management at Yeovil Town. Lee Johnson was captain centre midfielder. And Yeovil Town were going to sell their 2 keepers. And my football agent got me down to Yeovil Town. And I was sort of on trial for 2 weeks while their 2 keepers, Steve Collis and Chris Wheel, that they were apparently taking offers on. So I was there just in case one of them got sold. Lee Johnson and Gary Johnson are probably between them about 6 foot tall. So I can remember the low light of my non-league football career being sort of binned off by Gary Johnson. He stood up and he comes up to about, I'm not a giant, but he comes up to about there on me. He looked up and he went, Pete, we're letting you go. You're just not big enough. And I was like, fucking, I've just been sacked by a gnome. So that was like the low light of my actual playing days. But yeah, he'll do well up there. He's a pretty honest, he's a straight shooter. Good bloke.
Yeah. He certainly seems an interesting character. Curbs, I've done a little bit of reading on you as well, Paul. Is it right you went to the same school as the Neville brothers?
I did, yeah, I did.
Cricketers as well, weren't you, apparently?
Yeah, they certainly were, mate. Phil, the better cricketer than Gary. Phil was a year older than me. Gary, about 3 years older than me, I think. I might not have that right. Might be 4 years older than me. But Phil was a serious cricketer, mate. I mean, he was a left-handed batter, decent right arm seamer as well, decent pace, and he played when I think he was about 4th year at high school, and whatever that is, 15, is it? Something like that. And he basically goes, he basically plays a second team game for Lancs and gets 100 in both digs at 15.
Do you reckon he made the right decision, fellas?
Well, you've stolen my thunder a little bit. So basically, what he did, Lancashire wanted to offer him a contract there and then, and Man U came straight in and offered him 125 grand. At that time, was quite a lot of money, and put that in his account. And I don't think cricket was quite what he wanted to go and do.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but
I was good friends with their father, Neville.
Yeah.
He was a great bloke. He started off being he was
Grandparents have had a right laugh there, haven't they?
he was a truck driver who got involved in David Lloyd's benefit, and then started doing benefits, and then just progressed. But Neville was a lovely bloke. He was just a big, gentle giant.
Yeah, lovely man, Foxy.
Yeah, he was.
Gary was. I've got a story for you about Gary. So I playing a game of football up on it was sort of in between sort of years and what have you. And I've gone up for a tackle with this fella. This sort of 50-50 ball. Tried to get up there and I couldn't get anywhere near. Anyway, I get one elbow straight in the mush, knocks me out clean. Right, I am on the floor, cuckoo. Right. Anyway, so I'm gone down, but I'm honestly completely unconscious. And the next thing I know, I've woke up to Gary Neville giving me the kiss of life. So I'm like, bloody hellfire, what's going on here? Why couldn't that have been the head girl instead of the bloody head boy, Gary Neville? She was so rigorous, she was fit as fire. I mean, I ended up having bloody breath of 1,000 camels, Gary Neville. You know what I mean? Not quite what I wanted. Yeah. I have a lot to answer. He has a lot to answer for you because I was in a bit of a mess. Bless me. Apparently I'd swallowed my tongue. So, yeah.
Well, lad, it hasn't affected your looks, Kirbs. Don't worry.
It's not affected your speech either.
It's amazing what happens in two Thatchers you're on board. Eh?
I reckon that's a good note to end on. I think, Jonny, we've done just over an hour there. Can't thank you blokes enough for giving your time up, especially this time of year. So Triggs, Kirbs, Foxy as usual. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Triggs, I love you to bits. Kirbs, I love you to bits.
Thanks, Foxy.
Top blokes. Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
Rushy. Cheers,
You
Jonny.
also know Rushy, and you also know I love you too as well.
Hey, Foxy, we have to have a gin together at some stage.
Yes.
We know.
Yes, we do.
After what
I
you said about the Guns N' Roses scenario, though, mate, don't be offended if I sit nice and up close to the wall, right, lad?
Don't worry.
Even though
Do you know what it is?
Triggs, just make sure you've got a long sleeve t-shirt on.
We normally do a feature on this show where we get the guests to do their lockdown, who their rule of six is going to be. But I reckon we just need to find one more, and we're all set. We're going for a night out.
Renita, is it Renita? Let's get her in.
What would you call Renata? Hey?
We'll just get Elton on board, and we'll all go out and paint the town red.
Whatever you do, yeah. Bring Foxy out. He'll bite her on the arm. We'll be fine, won't we? Hey?
I would have thought so. I've never let you down yet, have I?
Never. Absolutely never. I've got to say, though, listen, guys, have a wonderful Christmas, whatever you're up to.
And you.
I know it's going to be a difficult one this year, family-wise and stuff, but
Triggs,
we'll stay safe, eh?
we have a lot of philosophy to discuss.
Yes, we do, my friend. But I'm buzzing about tier 3. No in-laws. Woohoo!
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, you're dead right. You're dead right. Yeah, fuck them all.
Only joking.
No,
Man,
no,
I'll see you all
I'm
soon.
not. Christmas with my family. I have 3 daughters, a granddaughter, the middle daughter and the younger daughter have boyfriends. That's it. Fuck the rest of the world.
Right.
Oh, I got a story we can finish on.
Go
I
on.
got a good I got a good story about daughters, Foxy, for you. You'll like this. This is just for Foxy, right? So, my daughter's 19, Amelia. She's an absolute angel. Her boyfriend Taylor, lovely lad. He's been renting a place in Cardiff, but they're looking to move in together. So they're looking to save a few bob.
Yeah.
So about 6 months ago, we said, Taylor, instead of wasting your money on all that rent, come and live with us. So he's been living with us for about 6 months, part of the family. My missus does all his ironing for him. She looks after him better than she looks after me. Anyway, the other morning, myself and Taylor were the only 2 in the house. And he came into the lounge, looked around the corner and said, Pete, is it all right if I make myself a coffee? I said, Taylor, you've been living here for 6 months, mate. Eating me out of house alone, just crack on. I just laughed. I said, why are you even asking? He goes on, not the instant coffee. I was going to use your machine. I didn't want to use your beans. I just looked at him. I said, to be honest, mate, you're shagging my daughter. I'm sure I can spare you a few coffee beans.
That's something I've thought, but I've never said. I've never said.
Well, that's my parenting 101.
It's a really interesting thought when you've got daughters, isn't it? And the thoughts that you try and get out of your head because they're getting more than you, and it's an uncomfortable feeling, but you just deal with it in the natural way.
Evolution, Foxy, isn't it? Evolution.
Well, I've always said to our kids from them being little, whatever you want to do, I may not agree with it, but I'd rather you did it in this house rather than behind a fucking bus shelter or somewhere else. So if you want to sleep with somebody, bring them home. If you want to smoke something, smoke it in this house, because this is your safe haven. And I'm your dad, and I'll look after you. So if that's what you want to do, and thankfully, our daughters have been good so far.
Well, if that's your philosophy, Foxy, I'm on my way round. All right, I'll be there in about an hour.
But you want to be the parent that you wanted your parent to be, don't you?
Oh
yeah, around.
So that's it.
I'll tell you that right now. If you're that liberal, I'm there, mate. No way.
Yeah, but you just want to be looked after like you would like to have been looked after, and that's all I try and do.
Yeah,
Right.
You're all great men. Can't wait to see you in person very soon.
Yeah.
Great.
All the best, boys.
Love you, fella.
Boys.
Look after yourself. Enjoyed it, guys. Take care of yourselves, eh? Cheers, Foxy.
Good. Love you.
Cheers.